What's going on, guys? It's Renjen, and welcome to episode 1 of my new web programming tutorial series. And in this series, I'm just going to pretty much be going over a variety of languages that can be applied to web development. And we're going to start off with some HTML and probably get into CSS once we get the basics down of HTML. And maybe even down the road, we get into, say, JavaScript or PHP. Depends on where we go. I mean, we could do both even, but I'm definitely going to be doing HTML and CSS. So what I have here is Notepad++, and this will pretty much be our standard SDK throughout our series. And you do not need this. Actually, you could do your HTML and CSS, etc. in Notepad, as long as you save it as, let's say, if you have an HTML file, as long as you save it as a .html, you can actually run it with your web browser and it'll work just fine. But I do like to have it in this SDK setting. It kind of gives you a little more feel for the actual coding, and it helps you out a little bit. So to download this, we can get Notepad++ from notepad-plus-plus.org. Link is in the description. Just click on the Downloads tab, and you'll most likely get this Notepad++ installer. This one will just have an exe file, which that's actually the one that I had, or that's the one I downloaded. You can also get the zip or the 7z, which pretty much the same thing almost. The minimalist package, that's just basically what am I talking about? It's what I mean. It's kind of a smaller file. Right, so there's a lot less stuff. There aren't themes like I have this here. Like yours probably won't look like, well, definitely won't look like it when you first download it, because I actually went into the settings, style configurator, and I have the Twilight theme on. So I do like that too, because it's easier on the eyes than to have a bunch of big white blocks. But let's get started, right? Let's get into the code. So when we're doing an HTML file, which is basically the building block of all web development, and when actually, let's say you're loading, I don't know, Facebook, right? Just because it's happened to me so many times, and you load Facebook and all you see are a bunch of lines, right? And instead of a bunch of buttons and things like that, it'll say like home, and it'll be a link to home, and it'll be a link to friends, a link to profile, like link, messages, and they're all just these links in very standard text, and there's really no design to it. That's actually the HTML that you're seeing. You're probably getting some internet lag where, it's only loading the HTML, or it has only loaded the HTML so far. And this is just kind of the building block. These are the kind of the building blocks for all web development, and kind of the bones, the skeleton of the body, and everything builds off of it. So when we first start writing HTML, we're going to do, well, first, let me say this. HTML is all about these little greater than or less than signs, these little brackets, and let's just, well, I'll get into it and I'll kind of explain it a little more. So let's go exclamation point doc type in all caps here, doc type HTML. And basically what we're doing here is we're telling the computer / web browser that what it's reading is in fact HTML. So it's just kind of specifying like, hey, this is HTML. And it should just look like that. Make sure you put that at the top of every document. And let's actually get started into the HTML itself. Now when we start HTML, we're going to have this HTML tag. But since we need to close that tag, we're going to have another one that'll be /HTML. And if I want to go too fast, right here is the opening tag for HTML, and this is the closing tag. And you can tell this is closing by this little slash here. Most elements need an opening and a closing tag. Some tags can close themselves, where it'll start like this, and it'll be blah blah blah, and then it'll be slash, and then the bracket, and it'll be all one group. It'll be one thing. But here, at least for the HTML, it's going to be two separate little tags, and they can be on the same line, but these tags probably won't, especially because they're the HTML ones. And this right here is saying the HTML is starting. This is where everything under this will be HTML. And then this is closing the HTML. So it's basically saying everything above this is HTML. Well, here, let me rephrase this. Everything up under this and above the closing tag is HTML. And this is saying, yeah, okay, this is where the HTML ends. So, when we start with the HTML, we do some indentation just to kind of organize our code. And the first thing we can do is make a header, right? So, we can have head, and we'll have to do a closing tag. So, we're going to do slash head. Alright. Now, what we want to put in this header, let's say we want to put in a title, so the actual title of our page. And let's say the title is Rengen, right? Why not? Actually, I don't think you need to put quotes. Yeah, you don't need to put quotes. I'm so used to Python. Alright, so there we go. We have our head, our title. Alright? And another thing we can do, we have our head and we have our body as well. So we have our body, and let's go slash body. And again, this is another case where you probably don't want to put these on the same line. So let's go in here and let's start putting some text. And the way we can do this is we have the little paragraph syntax, and you have P, and then again a closing tag, and P. And this is just the syntax for a paragraph. And here we can just write anything we want. Go, welcome to, or no, you know what, let's do some hello world, right? Because that's what we always do when we first start to learn a programming language. So hello world, and let's actually, let me save this somewhere. Yeah, why don't we just save it in the spot, the default spot, the spot. Let's actually, gotta save it as an HTML. Where is it? Hypertext markup language. I should have said that in the beginning. Hypertext markup language is actually what HTML stands for. There you go. Tutorial.html. And you can see some things changed now because it's realizing it's an HTML. And this is why it's great to have an SDK like this, because look, as I have the body tag, I can totally minimize the body, and then I can, you know, in the head, things like that. And let's run, and let's launch in Firefox. And bam, here you have Rengen, and you can see at the top in our tab, it says Rengen, because that is the title, and it says Hello World, because this is our paragraph that's actually in our body. So if we go back to our SDK, we can also, or Notepad++, I don't know why I call it SDK, but what was I saying? It's actually really not an SDK then I think about it, because you're not really developing software. This is a WDK, Web Development Kit. But anyways, let's put another one just to show you how things kind of work with the spacing. So let's go yo yo yo. I don't know, something. Let's go /p, closing out the bracket, and let's save it. Make sure you always save before you're launching these things, and you'll see it'll be on the next line. So that's pretty much all I want to go over in this first episode, kind of some of the basics. We'll get into more next episode, and that is all for today. Quick review though, we'll say at the top, always want to have that doc type to let the computer know that, hey, this is an HTML document. Here we'll have our HTML tag, and this is saying where the HTML is starting. The head, this is saying where the header is starting, and the title, the title starts, the actual title, and then the closing tag for the title. And here's the closing tag for the head, and the opening tag for the body. 2 paragraphs, opening and closing tags with some text, opening and closing tags for the other one, and closing tag for body, and then finally the closing tag for HTML. So everything that's going to have an open tag, which everything has to have an open tag, will also have to have a closing tag. Whether it's a whole separate tag or it's kind of connected, which we'll probably go over next episode when I go over how to put some images in there. But that is all for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you look forward to some of these more episodes in this new series. Thanks.